Welcome. In this video, we identify the legislation governing alien invasive plant species and explain a landowner's responsibilities when it comes to their control, depending on their assigned category. My name is Sean McGregor of EcoLegus Environmental Consultants based in Mpumalanga, South Africa. And we're on a mission to empower all South Africans to protect their environment through the correct interpretation and application of our environmental legislation. So if you want to learn how our environmental law applies to you and how to avoid unnecessary and costly mistakes, or if you simply want to increase your knowledge and skills to reduce your reliance on external consultants, then you'll want to subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to click on the bell notification icon so that you can be notified the moment we upload a new video. And if you do find value in these videos, or you know of someone else whom can benefit, please like them. We appreciate the support. It'll help spread the message. Thank you. So let's get started. The title of this video is "These Plants Are the Enemy." Alien invasive plant species are introduced into South Africa. They spread aggressively by reproducing rapidly in their new environments and outcompeting indigenous plants due to a lack of natural enemies, a resistance to local pathogens or diseases, and highly competitive colonization and growth strategies. They threaten individuals, habitats, and significantly alter the composition, structure, and functioning of ecosystems. The result is a variety of negative ecological, social, and economic impacts, such as a reduced capacity to produce ecosystem goods and services, a decrease in the aesthetic, cultural, and recreational values, as well as a threat to local and national water security. For example, these Eucalyptus grandis trees beside me here are a very important commercial timber tree, but a major threat to our country's water resources when invading river catchments outside of commercial forestry plantations. A mature or adult Eucalyptus grandis tree can use hundreds of liters of water each day. There are two pieces of legislation: CARA, the Conservation of Agricultural Resources Act, and NEMBA, the National Environmental Management Biodiversity Act. I will include a link to these acts, the relevant regulations and lists in the description below. So let's start with CARA, Act number 43 of 1984. The Act regulates and restricts the harbouring, propagating and selling of weeds and invader plants declared or listed in the amended regulations published in Government Notice number R 1048 on the 25th of May 1984. Now, these weeds and invader plants have been divided into three different categories: Category 1, Category 2 and Category 3. Category 1 plants are declared weeds and they are prohibited from occurring on any land. There is one exception, and that is biological control reserves that are designed for breeding biological control agents. So should these plants be found on land outside these reserves, then they need to be controlled. And under CARA, to control means to combat by means of the methods prescribed in Regulation 15E to the extent necessary to prevent or contain the occurrence, the establishment, the growth, multiplication, propagation, regeneration and spreading of these plants. In summary, it is illegal to plant, maintain, propagate or trade in Category 1 plants or the propagating material of Category 1 plants. Category 2 includes invader plants that have a commercial or utility value, such as timber, animal, fodder, food, soil stabilization, and shelter belts, to give you a few examples. So they are allowed in demarcated areas, but under controlled conditions, as well as biological control reserves. An example of a demarcated area would be an area that has obtained a water use license to undertake a Section 21D water use that involves stream flow reduction activities. I also said it has to be under controlled conditions, meaning a person in control of Category 2 plants must ensure or take all reasonable steps to curtail the spreading of propagating material outside these demarcated areas. and they must ensure that the plants do not grow within 30 meters of the 1 in 50-year floodline of a watercourse or wetland. So in summary, it is also illegal to plant, maintain, propagate or trade in Category 2 plants unless, obviously, it involves a demarcated area or biological control reserve. Category 3 also involves declared invader plants, but these are primarily ornamental or exotic horticultural plants that have escaped from gardens. So they are allowed to remain in situ, meaning they do not need to be controlled or combated, provided they existed at the time that the regulations came into effect, and that was the 1st of June 1984. Except if they occur within 30 meters of the 1 in 50-year floodline of a watercourse or a wetland, and as long as a person responsible for a Category 3 plant takes all reasonable steps to curtail the spreading of propagating material. Today, however, it is different. It is illegal to maintain, plant, propagate, trade, or even acquire a Category 3 plant or the propagating material of Category 3 plants. That is post-1984, unless, of course, it involves a biological control reserve. Then there is NEMBA, Act number 10 of 2004. The Act regulates all invasive organisms within the country, including a wide range of fauna and flora. Now, a person may not carry out a restricted activity involving any specimen of a listed invasive species, that is without a permit. And that's in terms of section 71(1). Examples of a restricted activity would include spreading or allowing to be spread any specimen of listed invasive species, having in possession, growing, breeding or propagating, conveying, moving, translocating, disposing, acquiring, trading, even donating or receiving as a gift is a restricted activity. There are some general exemptions, and they were published in the Alien and Invasive Species Regulations in 2020. That would be exemptions from requiring a permit. Again, a few examples would include having in possession a listed invasive plant species to be utilized as biomass. Now, biomass includes organic matter that would be used as a fuel or energy source, building material, furniture, even soil conservation. Then dead specimens of any listed invasive species is exempt, as well as moving, conveying or translocating any specimen of a listed invasive species for disposal or treatment as waste. Right, so apart from requiring a permit or being exempt from requiring a permit, the only other alternative for restricted activities in terms of the regulations is prohibition. That means that a person may not obtain a permit to carry out a restricted activity involving any specimen of a listed invasive species. Similar to CARA, the listed invasive species have been divided into different categories: Category 1A, 1B, 2, and Category 3. Now, the type of control to carry out a restricted activity involving any particular listed invasive plant species, such as either requiring a permit, being exempt from getting a permit, or being prohibited from issuing a permit, will depend on the category that the listed invasive plant species has been assigned to. In Category 1A, all restricted activities except 2 are prohibited, and that would be the activities defined in terms of the Act, as well as Regulation 6 of the Alien and Invasive Species Regulations, published in 2020. So basically any form of propagating, transporting or trading in Category 1A plants is strictly prohibited. These plants must be combated or eradicated, and it must be eradicated in compliance with Sections 75(1), 75(2), and 75(3) of that Act, as well as in accordance with an invasive species management plan developed in terms of Section 75(4) of the Act. In Category 1B, all but 3 restricted activities are prohibited. And again, it's the same restricted activities defined in terms of the Act and Regulation 6. In other words, any form of propagating, transporting or trading of Category 1B plants is also strictly prohibited. These plants must be controlled, and that differs to the combat or eradicate I mentioned for Category 1A. So what does control mean in terms of NEMBA? To control means to combat or eradicate. or where such eradication is not possible, then to prevent, as far as may be practicable, the reoccurrence, re-establishment, regrowth, the multiplication, propagation, regeneration, or spreading of such plants. And once again, the control must be in compliance with sections 75(1)(2)(3) of the Act and in accordance with an invasive species management plan developed in terms of section 75(4) of the same Act. Category 2 includes listed invasive plants that are commercially important species, like wattle, pine, and gum, and which require a permit to undertake a restricted activity in an area that is specified either in a notice or in the permit itself. Now, the permit holder or person responsible for listed Category 2 invasive plant species must ensure that any specimen of a listed species does not spread outside of that specified area. If a plant is found outside of those specified areas, then it needs to be managed as a Category 1B listed invasive plant species, meaning it needs to be controlled. Category 3 is quite interesting. These plants are subject to the same prohibitions and exemptions as for Category 1B, except they don't need to be controlled unless they occur within a riparian area, and that is defined as being within the 1 in 100 year flood line or 32 meters from the edge of a watercourse, whichever is greater. If they are found within a riparian area, then they need to be managed as a Category 1B plant. I suspect the Category 3 under NEMBA is very similar to the Category 3 under CARA, insofar as any plants or populations that existed at the time of the notice coming into effect may remain. However, any form of new propagating, transporting, or trading is strictly prohibited. And that's it. I hope this was helpful, and thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. If you have joined the MP or Incorsi tiers of our membership program, then you will receive an additional video that dives deeper into the subject. We go onto site in search of some of these listed alien invasive plant species and describe them within the context of the regs, or specifically their assigned categories. If you aren't a member yet, then check out our membership program on Patreon. Otherwise, if you're simply looking for a consultant to help you with a one-off project, you're welcome to visit our website. I do recommend you check out our previous video. We covered the timeframes required to complete a BA and EIA. The next one is going to be even more interesting. We reveal the hidden trap of phased activities. So subscribe, click on the bell notification icon, and if you do know of anyone that can benefit, please like the video. Thank you for your support. Keep strong, and God bless.